Welcome to the BrightWord Books Podcast. BrightWord is a leading platform for diverse storytelling, where voices from all backgrounds can share their unique narratives and connect with readers from around the world. Follow our regular podcast updates, where we strive to foster a literary community that celebrates creativity, inclusivity, and the transformative power of literature.
Hello, welcome back to the BrightWord Books Podcast. I'm Nancy Gregory. In this episode, we're revisiting Kelly Mowers, author of In a Multiverse of Infinite Possibilities, We Must Be Happy Somewhere. A teacher, traveler, and award-winning writer with a Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, Kelly blends her global experiences from Greece to multilingual classrooms into a novel that asks, how alternate realities reshape identity, whether happiness is a choice or cosmic chance, and what it means to belong across dimensions. A conversation as expansive as the multiverse itself. Let's begin. Kelly, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, congratulations on your book.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so surprised how people are enjoying it. I'm really happy about that.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And thank you again for joining us. Your book plays with the idea of parallel universes. If you could personally visit one alternate reality, what kind of world would you hope to find?
Well, one that is much different than the world we're experiencing at the moment. I think our world right now is what many call the 3D world, and it's full of division and hatred and anger, fear, control. And I'm really hoping that we can change that to the 5D world, where you'll find the peace and the love and unity, healing, consciousness, freedom, things like that. But in one of my poems, the Changing the World, I had in there at the end a prophecy that was said by Crazy Horse of the First Nations of the Lakota and the Sioux. And could I read like a section of that?
Sure.
Okay, because this is what I think everyone should be wanting. So it says, a world filled with broken promises, selfishness, and separations. A world longing for light again. I see a time of 7 generations when all the colors of mankind will gather under the sacred tree of life, and the whole earth will become one circle again. In that day, there will be those among the Lakota who will carry knowledge and understanding of unity among all living things. And the young white ones will come to those of my people and ask for wisdom. I salute the light within your eyes, where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at that center within you, and I am in that place within me, we shall be as one. That I just think that is that's what I dream of.
Yeah. We could use that right now, couldn't we?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Now, did you face any challenges in weaving together multiple realities while keeping the story cohesive?
Well, this book was easier than the second book is proving to be, because it takes place on this earth and this timeline. And it's with 2 characters that are discovering the multiverse. There's the female energy and the male energy. And through these poems, you get snapshots of moments where the female energy is starting to see the present, the future and the past lives. She's awakening to all that's possible and like the different realities. And then the masculine energy brings in the questioning, like he isn't convinced that this isn't all in her imagination. And I think that the duality of the skeptic and the dreamer, it keeps it grounded, and it keeps it so that weaving together these different timelines is almost like the reader is discovering it along with the characters.
Well, how did you keep track of all the variations?
Well, this is going to sound maybe a little strange, but I never plan things out. I just go with my characters. So they were leading me through this whole book, and the feminine energy was like really open to discovering new things, and he wasn't. So it was hard to portray how she just knows things. There's just this knowing without this explanation or proof or evidence. And he is more of the one that's like, no, we need scientific data, we need evidence. And I think that everyone can follow because suddenly she's remembering. And this is the remembrance that you come here. We might talk about that later.
Yes.
And it wasn't difficult in this book, but the second book is going to be a lot more timeline jumping, and they will have to follow more of the clues. I did leave a lot of clues about different things in these poems, but the second volume will be more expansive.
Oh, that's a nice tease. Yeah. The idea of multiple versions of ourselves raises questions about fate versus free will. Do you think we're ultimately in control of our own happiness, or are we at the mercy of circumstances?
Okay, well, I think that we all, not all, a lot of us have made soul contracts before we came to Earth, before we were born. Dolores Cannon really explains it the best. I don't know if you've read anything from her, but she's talking about how we needed volunteers to come down to the Earth to save it from itself, from ourselves, and that is where I think there is a little bit of predeterminism, because we did decide on certain things that we need to learn, and we need to, it's like our mission, our life's purpose. We need to reach these, and we've planned out people we might meet, terrible things that might happen to us. But these are all things that are going to trigger this awareness of what we came here to do, which is to raise the frequency of the earth. But once we're here, we come here under the veil of amnesia. We can't remember any of this. And that is because we're not supposed to be interfering, because we all have free will. And it's like, I don't know, whatever you believe in, God, source, spirit, the divine, the galactic federation, whatever you believe, they cannot interfere. We have to figure this out on our own. This is our mission. This is why it's almost like an experiment. That I don't know why we choose to do this, to come and help, but we did. And I think that ultimately, before agreeing to reincarnate, we do have these predetermined things. But then after that, it's all of our free will and our choices. And we may reach our mission, we may fulfill it, or we might make a lot of wrong choices, because it is our choices that are going to determine whether we do raise our vibration, our frequency.
Well, in your book, do characters experience regrets over different choices? And how do regrets play into the larger theme of happiness?
Well, regret is unfortunate for all of us. I think that we all have our what ifs, and it's so raw. And yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh, but we made a different choice in a different lifetime. But right now we're living this lifetime. So we do have to experience the regret. And so much energy goes into the black hole of regret. we overthink, we replay moments, decisions, things I should have said, things I haven't done, I should have done. I was watching a show. I don't remember what it was called, but there was an older woman and a younger, I think it was something like the White Queen. And there was a moment where the older woman and her daughter, I think it was her daughter, she pulled out 3 threads from the river, and she told the younger one to pick one, and that would be her timeline. And so the young girl held on to the thread, and then the mother cut the other 2. And the young girl goes, and what of those? What will come, what happens to those choices? And the mom says, they are what shall not come to pass, though through threads of what could have been. And I felt that like in my heart, in my stomach, because because it's TV, that she's going to have major regrets, right? Yeah. And so it's hard when we create our soul contracts to figure out if we're making mistakes or these are things that we planned to trigger the awakening. It's very difficult to know.
Which character surprised you the most as you were writing?
I think the feminine character was the most surprising. I think she had to go through a lot. I didn't expect to see her transition happen within this book. She could see all of the past and the future timelines, but the masculine energy could not. Mm-hmm. And so she had to really realize and integrate the fact that she seemed like she was obsessed, because she knew him and he didn't know her at all. And so I think it was very difficult for her to grow and realize that she needed to have autonomy. She had to work on herself and to feel the unconditional love within herself, not within another. And so I really enjoyed going on the journey with her. Mm-hmm. It was hard. There were times where I was like crying as I was writing because I felt so bad for her. But yeah, she was surprising. She ends up to be pretty strong. Yeah.
Did any other characters evolve in ways you hadn't expected?
Well, there's just the 2 characters in this book. And he is pretty much, he stays the skeptic, the questioner, I'm not saying that he's not going to grow, but in this book, he did not awaken to all that is.
And how do your characters cope with the knowledge that alternative versions of themselves might be living completely different lives?
They would cope with that, knowing that hopefully they did things better, that on this other timeline, the earth is not going through all of the things that is going through right now. But I don't want to sound like it's not possible here. It's very possible for us to change everything. It's not too late. We can still do it.
Were there any books, films, or real life experiences that shaped your vision of the multiverse?
Well, the funny thing about books and films and music is that a lot of times that there are like a lot of secret messages right there, hidden in plain sight. There's a lot of things that they're trying to tell us, flashing us. And if you're ready, you're going to say, whoa. Otherwise you'll just say, oh, that was a nice movie. Right. But there was one when I was very young. I think it was like In Search Of. It's I don't even know if you can find these episodes, but it talked about these 2 young girls going to church and how they got hit by a car and killed. And their mom locked their bedroom. And some years passed, and she unlocked the door and said, this was your sister's room. And the two girls, she had two girls, again, went in, ran to like their correct beds, picked up the doll or found their book hidden underneath the bed and said, oh, there she is. I've been looking for her. And I was really young because I remember I was wearing this flannel nightgown that my mom had sewn. And I was just sitting there and I was like, wow, yes, that is the truth. And that's when it started. I started to remember things. And so any shows that are questioning our version of reality, I think are very, very good. I really liked the Netflix. There was a series called Dark, and it was, I believe, German. And if I could be best friends with that writer, I would love that.
Love to sit on a patio and have a beverage and talk away.
Yes, because he or she, I'm not sure, they did an amazing job with past lives, future lives, and how the whole multiverse kind of is constantly happening all at the same time. Past, present, and future. It's not linear. It's on top of each other, all happening at the same time. And it was amazing. And I also like the series The Gift, which was also on Netflix. And I think that was Turkish. Really interesting. We have our famous one, the Matrix, which I think really wanted to tell us things, but I think it got caught up in Hollywood fighting scenes.
Yeah.
But there are some truths in it. Interstellar, The Time Traveler's Wife, that was also a book and a movie. I mentioned Sliding Doors in my first interview because that's an old one, but
I remember.
Yeah, you remember what happened? Like the
Yes.
two different timelines, right? She missed the train on one timeline, she caught it in the next, and all the things that changed because of that one event.
Yes.
Yeah. And not just and then there's books I would really suggest Dolores Cannon for anyone who's interested in things like this, because she goes into such detail, and she was a past life regressionist, and she realized suddenly that not all of these past lives were on Earth. So really interesting.
Was there a moment during the writing process when the story took an unexpected turn and you just had to follow where it led?
Yes. The end was not the end that I thought I was writing, heading towards. I don't know. It's kind of like automatic writing. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Like you're writing, but you're also at the mercy of, I don't know if it's your intuition or it's spirit or a guide. Somebody's helping you write, and they were saying you have to tell the truth. You have to tell the truth. And I was like, oh, and the truth of a future time of this future, if we stay on this timeline, and if we don't change, I had to tell the truth of what was going to happen if we didn't change. And it was not where I thought we were going to go. And that's why I'm like really wanting to get volume 2 out, because I want to make sure that people know this is just one version of what could happen. And yeah, but I was completely shocked. I didn't think that we were going to go there. And I do want everyone to realize that we only need 6% of the population to kind of wake up and unite and connect through the oneness. And then we can successfully raise the vibration. And we've been experimenting with meditations that we meditate at the same time, but from all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we have raised the Schumann resonance during the time of these meditations. So although, this particular possibility is not what I wanted to end on, I think that we're gonna go with the one that we change,
Right.
and we make a difference, and we raise the frequency of the planet.
What's one thing you hope readers will take away from this book, especially those who might be questioning their own paths in life?
Well, I think don't look for easy answers. Don't try to find happiness in someone else or in a new place. You need to find it within yourself. And once you start to awaken, you're going to go down what a lot of people call rabbit holes. And I know when I go down a rabbit hole, I'm reading like 3 books at the same time while listening to different interviews, and it's like I'm devouring information. And you should do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're gonna figure things out. And then, as I said before, like we can raise the frequency and vibration within ourselves, which will then help to raise the collective, which will then help raise the Earth's frequency to the 5D. And that was my main message that I did want to make sure the reader got.
And what's next? Can you give us a little taste?
Well, I am definitely working on volume 2 of this. In a multiverse of infinite possibilities will stay the same. And then We Must Be Happy Somewhere for volume 2, that will change. And then I have enough ideas. I think I said this in the last interview too, for like 3-4 more volumes, but I'm not sure. I'm going to go where the characters take me, but definitely number 2. And I am working on a novel that's it's not necessarily with these 2 characters, but I'm wondering if it's going to merge somehow. And I'm going to be at the LA Times Festival of Books for a book signing. If anyone is there, I would love to meet them and to discuss all of this.
Oh, that sounds
with
like
them.
fun. Yes. Well, Kelly, thank you for this mind-expanding conversation about storytelling in the multiverse. Thank you again. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Nancy. It was such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, listeners, find In a Multiverse of Infinite Possibilities at all major booksellers. Subscribe to the BrightWord Books Podcast for more thought-provoking talks. Until next time, may your reading journeys be as boundless as the multiverse itself.
You've been listening to the BrightWord Books Podcast, home of the literary community that celebrates creativity, inclusivity, and the transformative power of literature. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss future episodes. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.